All right, well, welcome to Lost in Translation and Introduction to Metaphysics and Bible Interpretation. And we're going to introduce ourselves in just a few minutes so I can get a feel for where you are. But let's start with an opening prayer. So if everybody wants to just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and push everything aside right now. I know I had a busy day, as I'm sure all of you have, and so we just want to be present right here in this moment with each other and in the oneness of spirit, and just be open to whatever messages we may receive, whatever feelings may come out, curiosities, the ahas. This is all about spiritual growth as we continue on our journey with no pressure. There is no right or wrong. We are together, connected. And we're just going to breathe together as we kind of walk through this process. And so with intention and focus, we move forward with our journey tonight and our learning tonight. And we say thank you to Spirit, to Universe, to God. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, let me just check. I'm going to admit somebody else in here. Pamela. All right, so let's get started. I know I'm excited. Oh, maybe that's the music. I don't know if you heard that one or not. All right. So welcome to Lost in Translation, and I hope it's going to tell me if somebody else is in the waiting room, because now I see your faces off to the side and I see the agenda. Does everybody see the agenda on camera?
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's just talk about what we're going to learn tonight. I'm going to do some introductions because I want to get to know you. We'll talk about the goals of this class, what materials I will be using, some agreements, hard agreements. What we're going to talk about what is metaphysics, and in a minute I'm going to ask you what your experience on a scale of 1 to 10 is with metaphysics. We're going to interpret some Bible passages. Just look at some Bible passages and how would we interpret them metaphysically. And we have a process to do that. It's a simple process that you can use at home. And I hope you'll explore it, because that's how I got started on the journey myself. And the world just, the Bible opened up to a whole different realm when I started to apply this process. And then we'll practice it. All right, and we'll summarize. So let's meet and greet. So put your camera on so we can see you if it's working. I'd like to know your name, where you are. Last time I did this class, there was someone from Wisconsin. So, I always like to know where you're from. In one word, when you hear the word Bible, what do you feel? One word. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you know metaphysics? And 1 being, I've never heard, I only know the word, to 10, I feel very comfortable with it. I just want to explore some new ways, or, maybe you haven't applied it to the Bible before, or you just, brushing up on some skills that, you'd like to just get better at. So I'm going to take the PowerPoint off so I can see everybody. And I know you're going to be like, what am I supposed to say? So let's see, name, location. I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Well, just
one word, a feeling about the Bible. What's one feeling you have? And then 1 to 10, your experience with metaphysics. And let me just admit two more people here before we get started. So Angie, you're in my upper left right now on my screen, so that means you get to go first.
All right. Hi, my name is Angie Farrell, and I'm born and raised here in Orlando. I live in Claremont, and I've only been to Unity 4 times. I just started.
Great.
I was living in Sarasota for the last 12 years. I worked for the state, and I transferred back to Orlando where all my family are, my daughter and grandkids. So I wanted to start fresh over here and go to it. I heard a lot of good things about Unity. So I'm very pleased to be a part of this. Thank you.
Great.
Bible, one word, incomplete.
Okay.
There's a lot of books that aren't in there. It's just an incomplete.
Okay. Metaphysics.
Metaphysics. It's new to me.
Okay.
So that's why I'm taking this. It's very interesting to me because I've never felt, I knew the Bible, the scriptures, there's stories and like guides, and so I've never taken it literally. It's just been a part of me in that fashion, but I never thought of it in the fashion like we're discussing today.
Okay, great. Great to have you, and glad you're exploring different ways, and welcome to Unity.
Thank you.
So I'll go to Joanne.
I'm Joanne Quickenden, even though it says long on there. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, been here for the past 20 some, since 93. So, but anyway, what was the next?
Location?
Location, I'm here between Curry Ford and Dean Road, Orlando. And the Bible is, for me, is encouragement, and encouragement mostly, and metaphysics. That's why I'm decided to take this class, because I have no idea what metaphysics is, and how it relates to the Bible.
Okay, great. Well, glad to have you.
Thank you.
Edward, you're unmute. Unmute yourself, Edward.
Ed Miner.
Yes.
I moved here to Orlando back in September from New Hampshire. And I'm in Altamont Springs. Let's see, the Bible.
One word?
Interesting.
Yes.
And metaphysics, probably a 2 or a 3 on your scale.
Okay.
That's about it.
Welcome. Glad to have you.
Thanks.
And Victoria, is Victoria?
Yep.
Yeah. Your name ran in together with your last name, I think so.
Yeah. I go by Vicky.
Vicky.
I'm in a small town near Madison, Wisconsin.
You're my Wisconsin person.
That's right. I started going to Unity a long time ago in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then kind of fell off the wagon. I moved back to Madison, where I'm from, and went to Madison Unity for a while, and just, I love Unity principles, but it didn't jive with me. And during the pandemic, my friend Kim and I, Kim was the one who got me going to Unity in the beginning, said, well, we can shop churches. So we shopped churches online and fell in love with CCU Orlando, and last month I joined.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh,
yay.
Sorry.
One word Bible?
Right now it's interesting to me.
Interesting.
I'm kind of revisiting it from a different perspective, which makes me like it more.
Yes.
And maybe more familiar with metaphysics than I really am with actual biblical. I know a lot of the stories from growing up, but I feel like how to apply metaphysics to it is like a whole new opening.
Right. Great. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Okay, Lutz, can I say, am I going to say that wrong again? So before I do.
It's Luz Eneida, but I go by Luz.
That's
I
right.
am.
I was hoping. Lucinada. Love
Yeah,
it.
I go by Luz. Thank you. I'm currently living in Lake Wells, Florida, Polk County. The Bible, I don't know. I really haven't read it much since I was a child, so I don't have a word to describe it, honestly.
Okay.
I just, I know I need to get back to it, and that's why I joined the class. And for metaphysics, is honestly, since I joined Christ Church Unity, is the only place I've ever heard of it. But to be familiar with it, I would say a 1.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. Is it Malone? How you say it?
That's my last name.
Oh, okay. Sorry. What's your first name?
I'm Ingrid.
Ingrid.
Oh, and that's Alfie. You hear in the background. Sorry. I'm really happy to be a part of this class tonight. I live in Conway, which is a part of Orlando, not far from the church, just a little bit east of there. And the word big comes to mind when I think of the Bible. It can be a big book. It's full of big ideas, and it's a little intimidating and overwhelming to consider how to interpret it sometimes. So I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, even though I've been at Unity a very long time, I'm probably no more than a 3 on that scale. I'm here to learn.
Great. Welcome. Pamela.
Yes, my name is Pam and Johnson, and I live in Altamont. Let's see, location.
Altamont.
The Bible. Well,
one word.
So, yes, I guess I had a relationship with the Bible when I was a kid, that when I look back at my Bible, I had underlined everything in sight, but yet I developed an aversion, I guess, because of so much literal and misinterpretation. And so I carried that for a very long time. But I always knew that there was a lot of great messages there and to be had. And hence all the Bible verses that you just know forever because they were so good. And so I know some about metaphysics. I've taken some classes, but I want to grow in that area. And I want to focus a little bit more on the connection to the Bible also, because I think there's more to be had from the Bible by doing that.
All right. Well, welcome. We appreciate it.
Thank
Marlene, so great to see you. I think you're muted.
Okay, good.
Hey, there you go.
Hi, everyone. All right, my name is Marlene Joseph. I live in Lake Mary. I got here 4 years ago from New York. So, and I have been a Unity student since the year 2000. I love the Unity teachings, and I am always eager to learn more and more. So whenever there is a class that really, appeals to me, I am always willing, or, I look forward to participating.
Yes.
The Bible, I've had my struggles with the Bible in the past because, as somebody said earlier, just, understanding the history of the Bible came to be, and, all these been translated so many times, and, the misinterpretations, all the, they're not really well, anyway. I now read it, and I do read it from a metaphysical point of view.
So if you had one word that you could describe it, what would it be?
The Bible?
Yes.
Very historical.
Mhm. And metaphysics, 1 to 10, what do you think?
I am very comfortable with it.
Yes.
Of course, yes. I've taken so many classes over the years, so I'm comfortable with it.
Great. Well, it's great to see you again.
Yes, of course.
Christy. You muted?
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
I don't know what is with my screen. Every Zoom I go on, it looks like this or worse. So sorry, it looks
You look
bad
good.
from mine. But my name is Christy. I'm a native Floridian. I've been in Orlando 25 years. I've been a member of Unity probably 35 years.
Mhm.
My family, everybody's pretty much here in Orlando with us, so it's kind of central area for us. One word for the Bible. I don't know. I don't usually have one word for anything. I've never really read much of it. I think it's a storybook. It's really long. It's boring to me. And it's confusing. So
Okay.
that's my take on the Bible. Metaphysics, I feel really pretty good. I had to look it up. I'm like, what is metaphysics? So it says over here, includes questions, which I'm all about questions, about the nature of the consciousness and the relationship between mind and matter. And I think I can score pretty high on that, I think. So I think about an 8. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Andrea, I'm not sure. Did we lose somebody? Or Andrea, did you go? I know your camera's not working.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. I'm glad my microphone is working. I'm Andrea Stair, and I'm in Orlando. I've been at Unity for about 5 to 6 years now. I grew up with a traditional interpretation of the Bible, but over the years, as I've grown and experienced more spiritually, I've evolved in my understanding of it. My word for the Bible would be inspired. I have a positive view of the Bible in general, not from a traditional standpoint, but just from the fact that I can draw from it what I need to help me practice in a practical way. And I find that metaphysical interpretation helps me with that practical application for what I read.
Great. Well, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello. They're all saying hello. Carla, did we get you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in Orlando near the airport. I'm here with my husband, Bernie.
Hi, Bernie.
Bible in a word. Book of Life.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other thing?
Metaphysics, 1 to 10. What do you think? 1 being never heard of it, 10 being you're an expert. You've ascended. Two?
Two.
Okay. Bernie?
2.
Okay, great.
I read different parts of it. Can't say I read the whole thing. Interpretations are entirely different at different stages of one's life.
Absolutely. Yes. And Reverend Barton.
Hi, my name is Don. I'm in Belle Isle, which is down by the airport. And my word for the Bible would be new, because there's always something new every time I read it. And unfortunately, I'm going to say metaphysics, I'm around an 8.
Unfortunately.
Due to my recent class history.
All right, well, great. I think I have everybody. I don't see everybody in the waiting room. So my name is Reverend Faith Cotter. So I am in Orlando as well. And so it's great to see some people here that we normally see at CCU. And one word for me, ever change. Well, it's not two, it's two words, sorry. Ever changing. I think Bernie said it when he said that, you know, it's different each time. I think it was him who said that. So for me, it's ever changing. And then metaphysics, I'm gonna say an 8, believe it or not, just because I can intellectualize it, but I can't always get it down into the heart space. So I'm really good at seeing it, but I feel it, I would say probably about 90% of the time. But there are times where it's like, ooh, I think that could go even deeper. I could go even deeper with that. So that message. So I'm glad you're all here. I'm looking forward to the class. I know maybe a couple of you have took it the first time around, so some of the information may be familiar with you. So we'll repeat really because we have a variety of people on the scale of metaphysics from 1 to 8, and a variety of experiences with the Bible from really using it as a child. I myself grew up with it. My name is Faith. I was named Faith because my grandmother named me after the strongest word she felt was in the Bible. So I actually named Faith because of that. And I also, when we moved here to Florida from Massachusetts, we were Congregationalist. Then I grew up Baptist. So we really got an education with the Bible, and someone else said that they underlined their things. Yes, I know the stories, but it really didn't take on a meaning to me from a metaphysics or deeper meaning to me in life until I started to apply what unity principles say and metaphysics to it. So that's why I say it's ever changing. So every time I read it, it's different. And I like to say it's a living document, and that's the reason why. So it's a little bit about me. So let's get started. Any questions so far? All right. So I'm going to share my screen and the PowerPoint, so I won't probably be able to see everybody at all times. So if you have a questions, feel free to jump in there and stop me. I'm going to slide you over so I can see my PowerPoint. Sliding your boxes over. All right, so we did our introductions, and every once in a while I'll stop and I'll come back and stop sharing so I can see your wonderful faces. So the goal of our class is to introduce you to the basics of metaphysics, and then to learn a process where you could take a metaphysical approach to a Bible passage and then make it meaningful to you, as the way that Charles Fillmore did it. So the materials I'm using today is the Revealing Word, which I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's somewhere in my house. Or I'd show you a picture of it. I'm in a room right now where we're about to move my oldest daughter to college. So things have gotten moved around in books and stuff, but there's a picture of it. I know they'll have it in the bookstore at CCU. You can order it online. And then also the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which I'll show to you once I get you all back on screen. And then I'm going to show you what's called Truth Unity, this website right here, Truth Unity. I'll see if I can click to it. If not, I'll bring it up on a different screen. Let me just show you. So let me share my screen. This is truthunity.net. So the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary is a pretty thick book that Charles Fillmore wrote, and he wrote the Revealing Word. And I want to say it's about 3 inches thick. However, it's all online. So if you're a book person, you could order it, and I'll show it to you in just a moment. Or you could go right here to truthunity.net, and this looks like a bunch of jumbled writing, but what it is hyperlinks. So if you wanted to say, what is the metaphysical meaning of Aaron, you would just click on it, and then it would show you the metaphysical meaning of Aaron. but that's kind of, I don't want to jump too far into this. So that's the resource, and that should have just brought up on screen metaphysical meaning of Aaron. Okay, but we'll come back to this. I don't want you to get too overwhelmed at this point with trying to get into those definitions. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. And okay. So just some agreements as we go forward in the class, that we just stay open to the ideas of others and we listen with compassion, because we all are coming at this with a different background. Okay, we're all some not knowledgeable, some have issues with the Bible itself, and I did myself for a long time, where I didn't want to read it, didn't want anything to do with it. So just be open, that we all agree to be open to each other. And I said this in my talks, and I'll say it here. There are 7.7 billion people in the world. There's 7.7 billion ways to interpret the Bible. There's no one way. And I think that's very important, because some people, when you talk about the Bible, they kind of get scared. It's going to bring up for you some of the old feelings that you may have about it. And I would just say that for me, I had to process through those first before I could get to where I could really look at it metaphysically. So don't push yourself. You're going to have your own opinions of it. And then I'm going to give you some new ways to look at it. And then we have a great thing called spirit that's going to work at you and get you to think and all that kind of thing. So I'm not here to tell you that your interpretation is right or wrong. I won't ever tell you that. It's your interpretation, it's your meaning, and it means something to you differently than what it means to me. But we can look at a general definition, but I'll tell you that once you start this process, you're going to either go, yeah, that resonates with me, or no, I'm going to change a word here and that resonates with me. Okay. And then if we kind of get off topic, I like to call this the parking lot. I'm just going to kindly say we're going to park that issue, because it's not really related to what we're talking about here tonight. So don't be offended if you have to park the car. Okay. And then the other thing, obviously, this class is scheduled from 7 to 8:30. If you need to take a break, I can't stop you. Feel free to take a break. All right. Any questions so far? Are we good? Okay. So let's go through a little bit of a few definitions, because some of you talked about it when you were doing your introduction. And I call this seeing the Bible. So some people take the Bible as facts, that what's in there is literally has to be followed. It's a fact. And again, these are not right or wrong. It's just that you will meet people that are going to take this literally. Okay. They take the Bible literally. And that's just where they are with it. And that's okay. That's okay. Some people obviously use this as a doctrine, the apostle or the central doctrine of their particular religion. Some people look at the Bible and they say, oh, it's moral based. God tries to say what's good and bad. Try to be good. What's this? What is the moral compass that you should be using in God's law? This is the right way to do things, the wrong way. This is good. This is bad. This is good and evil. This is sin. This is not sin. So there's a moral compass to it. We all know that it's male dominated. I mean, that's just it is a history of the Jewish people. So it is in Jewish culture at that time, it was a it's a patriarchal society. It's a male dominated society. And some people go, well, he, she, it doesn't matter. It's just, it is what it is. That's just the way that when it was written, we just accept that. And if somebody says him, her, he, she, it's just, there's nothing you can do with it. Change it if you want to change it, but it is male dominated. In other words, from the male perspective. Some people say that it's exclusive. They use it exclusively. Jesus is the way, the only way, the truth, and the light, and you can't do anything unless going through Jesus. And that's works for that particular religion or those particular people. That's okay. People will say that it's afterlife oriented. What do you got to do to go to heaven? This is the laws you got to follow. We're trying to get, this is what we have to do in order to follow this so that in the afterlife, we get the reward. Okay. And it's traditional historical. And what I mean by that is that it is historical. There is a way to cross-reference some of the things that are happening through the Greek writers, Roman writers of the time that were documenting history, such as Josephus. So there are historical facts within it, and there are traditions that are pulled from it. So Easter, Christmas, if you're in the Christianity, in the Christian religions, there are traditional things that happen in culture that are pulled from the Bible. And finally, we have metaphysical. So what is the meaning? And really, we're going to look at a definition in a minute of metaphysical. But what we're looking at is Jesus can tell a story in the Bible, but what is he really trying to say? We go beyond the physical, because sometimes he'd talk and people are like, oh, I get that. And then other times he'd talk and they're like, what? I mean, the disciples are scratching their head because they didn't understand what he was saying. But we want to look at it. We try to look at it for the meaning beyond the words that we're reading on the paper. So I'm going to stop sharing that for a minute and open it up to the floor for any comments, questions. Does any of those definitions help you? You never thought that? If we want to take just a few minutes to kind of debrief. Anybody want to make a comment? Oh, I got thumbs up. Okay. I like those little emojis. We good? All right. Well, I'll let you get off on this one right now because I know you're thinking, your wheels are thinking, but I'm going to come back and ask you questions. I know you'll have comments. Okay, let's head back then. Okay, moving on then. What does unity say? Okay. Gonna move my square. I can't see the whole screen. Reverend Don Barton, can you see the whole screen?
Yes, I can.
Will you read Unity's view of the Bible for me, please?
Sure. The story of the unfolding of the soul, the unfolding of human consciousness, the story of humankind's generation, degeneration, and regeneration. The Bible records what happens when we are in different states of consciousness.
Wow.
Okay, I'll let that sit for a minute. This is Charles Fillmore's interpretation, or what Charles Fillmore believed, that the Bible was the unfolding of the soul of human consciousness, the story of humankind's generation. In the beginning, God created, and then we see the lineage and the generations start to go through Abraham and Isaac and the generation, the building of humanity, the G generation. It all falls at some point. Wars and all of that is in there. And then the regeneration, which I would say then moving into the New Testament, the regeneration, the opening of the soul from a God that was in the beginning to be a punishing, or a God that was outside of them, to what Jesus brought in Christianity and the New Testament, to the God within. So we have the regeneration. And he believed the Bible is what, it's basically man in different states of consciousness. Does anybody want to talk about that for a few minutes? Anybody ever see that definition before now?
No.
Can you define consciousness?
Hey, thank you.
Different states of consciousness. I would define consciousness in this case as development, soul growth, what we often say is soul growth, different states of humanity. Because how we are, let's say we believe or that we're a soul that's come into the earth in birth, right? We are born with a particular consciousness when we come in. And I believe you don't actually not really change your soul consciousness, but as you grow and you develop and you learn, you go through different stages of your life. And this person I was when I was 18, mentally, emotionally, and physically, sorry to say, is different than the person I am now. I have grown in my understanding of the world and how it works and people and as I have grown and developed, I have brought out more of what I believe my soul was here to do in the first place. So I'm going to put you on the spot again, Dawn. Do you want to add anything to your thoughts on consciousness?
I would just add to that it's, for me, it's the growing awareness of us as spiritual beings. That's the level of that unfolding of the human consciousness too, that the Bible's, through the story of the Bible, its human consciousness goes from being, what, like you said before, separate to being one with God, and evolving from being separate and apart and not knowing their divinity to being one with God, like Jesus was at the very end of the Bible, and understanding their divine nature as part of their awareness or in their consciousness.
And I'll just add, and then I'll ask someone else to share if they'd like. So I believe that we're divine beings, that we're of God before we come into this world, right? And that we are trying to seek back to, not that we have to go back because that indicates separation, but we just become more and more aware as we go through this life that we are divine beings, that we are part of oneness, like Don was just saying. Anybody else want to comment on what they think? Okay, I know you're thinking.
I guess this is Andrea. This is somewhat of a question. Does it include moral development, or is it more general than that?
Which part?
The word consciousness, is it about mankind's moral development, how he defines what's good versus bad, or is it more of a spiritual idea, as in mankind's development in his thinking about God?
So without getting too far into, I'm sorry, you cut out there for a second, so I didn't want to talk over you, but without getting too far into this, where we would move into like really metaphysics of consciousness and subconsciousness, etc. Without getting too off track with that. For me, it does, because it is through my unfolding consciousness and reality that I might have started in my early life with one set of morals, but grew in my understanding of how morality is a part of me, and how it's a part of humanity. So it's not necessarily that I would say it's good or bad, that you're good, you're bad, you're evil, I would never do that. Did I do it in the past? Yes, because at that time I wasn't at the growth level that I'm at now. Okay, so growing up, I was given a certain amount of framework to work within. And so as you're growing up, you almost get that morality, what's good, what's bad. And when I was growing through my teen years and attending, and this is not to criticize one way or the other, but in the Baptist church, they always talked about sin. It was this was wrong, this was right. And so it was very black and white. But over time, I've learned that it's not so black and white. And I don't believe necessarily those black and white things. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking as well, because when you look in the Old Testament, it seems like that's more how they thought of things, you know, black, white, good, bad, heaven, hell. But in Jesus, when it comes to the, you know, Jesus's era, it became a little more gray. It just didn't seem that concrete anymore.
That is correct. And so you see in some of the stories in the New Testament, then when we would say, some people would say, oh, Jesus included the children, the women. Exactly. But he also included other Jewish sects, not just the one he was in. So it was also the Samaritans. It was the people surrounding him. So yes, that's where you start to get into the regeneration that Charles talked about. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Great questions. Okay, move forward. What happened? There we go. So what is metaphysics? All right, the basic definition is that it's a branch of philosophy that studies the ultimate reality beyond the physical realm. Somebody was reading the definition earlier. Christy was sharing with us. And basically what we're looking at is meta is the Greek prefix, meaning more comprehensive or transcending. So I like to use this analogy of I can't see your hands, but if you just kind of nod your head for those people I can see on screen, who has heard of the word metacognition? Has anybody heard of metacognition?
No.
Okay. So I see a hand go up. Great. Thanks for raising your little hand there. It changed the pictures on my screen. So anybody else? You'll know it as soon as I say it. Metacognition is meta, meaning comprehension or transcending, is thinking about our thinking. So if you've ever been thinking about something and you're thinking about, oh, I got to do this, blah, 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 and you have this like dialogue going on in your brain, and then all of a sudden you go, why am I thinking that? Well, I probably shouldn't be thinking that, because then I'm going to attract, maybe I'll attract negative thing. I don't know. Like, why am I thinking that? But then why do I think? Okay, you're thinking about your thinking. And our brain's a wonderful thing, is it can do multiple things at a time and look at multiple layers, which is what we're talking about. Because I'm sure someone's experienced that before. Like you go, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to, do, no, but wait, why am I thinking about that? Okay, I got to go. That's metacognition. So metaphysical would be thinking beyond the physical, thinking about what we see there, thinking about the message that's on your paper. And it sounds like a fancy word, but I believe you do it probably without realizing it, or you've experienced it without realizing it. So the metaphysical approach to the Bible allows us to understand the meanings that go beyond what the written text says. That's what we're looking at. What is the meaning beyond the written text? As it pertains to how Charles Fillmore would look at it from a metaphysical perspective in unity. Stop me if you need to stop me, okay? I'm going to go through this visual. I like this visual because, for a long time, we're growing up with this human perspective that we have Earth. There's a lot of people that think this way. We have Earth, and I am physically on Earth. And then there are people that think, well, I'm the center of attention. But in reality, Earth is it's in a universe among other planets. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
So we think human perspective, humanity, physical, here I am on Earth. But then if we start pulling out. So we're going to pull away from the physical of the Earth. We're going to start thinking, oh, we're going to fly through the universe. If we start pulling out away from that idea, and all of us do it at different stages of our soul development or spiritual development, right? As we grow. and we start pulling back and we go, well, Earth isn't the center of the universe. Okay, our universe or our solar system, let's just say this solar system, Earth is not the center. Okay, so when you look at it like Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, we're pretty small. And then you go to the sun, and there's a little U on Earth all the way down that little black dot down on the bottom. And I like to look at this as the spiritual perspective, the soul being our sun. So there are times in our development where we finally go, okay, wait, there's a bigger picture. I'm part of this. My soul is part of this bigger picture. That's when we realized when we were growing up that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe. There's all this massive amount of stars and other galaxies, and we're just a small part of that. So if you can think about it visually, when we say metaphysics, we're talking about pulling back so that we can see a bigger picture and it's not so black and white on the paper. Okay. Let me stop for just a second, see if y'all are still breathing. I just stopped sharing. I can see your faces now. Are you still breathing?
Yes.
Okay. Luce, are you with us? You good? Okay. Yeah, y'all look good. Y'all are still smiling. All right. Let's go back and look at something. I think you'll know this. Okay, I know participants can see my screen. Okay, here we go. How many of you have ever heard the poem, The Road Not Taken? I know you all have heard this.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
all right, we're going to read it so I can get some participation. And I can see on screen Joanne. Joanne, do you mind reading that first paragraph, if that's
Sure.
okay?
Sure. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Should I continue?
Oh, okay. Ask Angie if she'll do the second one. Can you do that?
Sure. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same.
Edward, would you be willing to read the third one?
Yes. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back.
And Vicky, can you read the last one?
Sure. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
Okay. Wish I could show you my screen at the same time. So by the show of hands, I can see most of you on the screen. How many people know that poem? Okay. What does it mean to you? What does that mean to you? Who wants to take a stab at it?
He wasn't
Especially,
a follower.
What's that?
I said he was not a follower. He decided he pursued his own direction to where he wanted to find his own peace, I think, to me, at least.
Okay. I'm going to read the last paragraph because I think this is probably the one everybody knows most. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Who wants to comment? I lost my mouse. Hang on. There it is. I'm trying to see you guys again. Okay. Anybody else?
I think for me,
Pamela, I see your hand up. I'm sorry.
Well, one thing it could mean is it made the road less traveled made all the difference. There was less noise on that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he was able to be more focused.
Okay.
Because if there was less distraction around, it might have been a more peaceful and soulful approach.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Edward, did you have your hand up?
Yes, he wasn't following the greater crowd.
Right.
He carved his own path.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it speaks
So-
about being a nonconformist.
Mm-hmm. Andrea, do you have your hand up?
yes, I was
Mhm.
gonna just follow with what was just said and add that it's once he made the choice, it determined the outcome, or it determined the path of his life
Mhm.
because it made a difference. So I'm thinking, it's the power of the choice to mold the future.
Right. So I always think that, okay, there are times in my life that I did the right thing because I thought that was what my mother wanted or what society said I should do, or, that culture said I should do. And then there are times that I was like, I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going my own path, or take a risk that I'm going to try this, even though myself wants to talk me out of doing it. And so I took the road less traveled by, and that made all the difference in my life. So all of you are right. It means what it means to you. But the fact that you were able to listen to the poem and then go, hey, wait a minute, I think it means this, is metaphysics.
Mm.
Because you just metaphysically interpreted that passage. So metaphysics is not a mystic or mystery. It's something that you already do. It's just we're going to apply it to find a meaning for us out of something that we're very familiar with, in this case, the Bible, in this realm. But I will tell you that you probably do it in other realms, not just, what we're looking at. Okay. Any other comments before we move on? Okay. Guys, doing a great job. All right. So, I go in the beginning. Let's go back. All right. All right. Charles Fillmore. So your question, if you're new to Unity, may be I'm going to hold this up in a second, but where did all this metaphysical meaning come from when we're looking at the Bible? And so you're here in this class because you either have been exposed to Unity and the Fillmores, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, or in some way in the beginning, or you're very familiar with who they are. And so it's important to know where this information came from. So what Charles did is that he would used to go into what he called the silence, but he would look at the meaning of scripture. He was a very educated man. He constantly was looking at new things, and he researched the Bible, what the Hebrew translation of the Bible was, what the Greek names were. And then he decided, well, he can read the words and he understands that part, but he wanted to take it deeper. So he would go into meditation. and in prayer, and he would just speak to spirit, stay silent, listen to the messages he would receive. And then he would use contextual clues, tradition, history, research, and determined himself what he felt this was saying, what he felt was coming to him in his meditation time or his prayer time. So the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary was written by him, as well as the Revealing Word. Okay. Excuse me. So let's take a passage. In the beginning, the very beginning, was Genesis 1:1 that says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So what you see on screen right now is a chart. And this is something I used in the very beginning when I was first starting to interpret the Bible. And I don't use it now because for me, I can read a passage and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. But that's years and years and years of experience, in doing it. So we started the basic. This is how we this is the beginning. This is how I learned. This is probably a little bit how Dawn learned. You take a passage, and it helps if you can put it in Excel if you want, it doesn't matter. And you put it in this little chart that I have here. So we're going to look at, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Question? Okay. So then you kind of go back and look at, you're looking really more at first nouns. What are the nouns in that phrase? And then a little bit of, well, I like this word. Maybe this word is jumping out at me. So if we just look at the nouns, well, let me back up. If I was to say that this was translated literally, I just want to apply a couple of those things I was talking about with the Bible. Some people believe this is a fact, that if Jesus is in the Bible, if you look at the time frame is 2000 plus years ago, that everything was just created 2000 plus. It's fact. Boom. God created it. Okay. And most Christian religions start here with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right in the very first sentence of the Bible, it's been set up that there is a God, and there's heaven up here and there's earth down here. There's two realms, right? The very first sentence. We get the impression that God is outside or above, and there's heaven and earth, two things, okay? And you are on the earth and you're going to heaven. So there's heaven's been established. So this is the very first sentence, the very first afterlife oriented sentence. Okay. So we're starting, they're starting to build, everything kind of builds from here. Okay. It's tradition. If you go into most Christian traditions or Christian churches, somewhere along the line, someone's going to start off with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right? It's pretty historical. It's in our culture. Okay. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to come back to this. I want to go back to the phrase, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you how to do it, and then I'm going to go back to the steps. Okay, so you can take a picture of it. So, like I was saying, you have a chart. In the beginning, God created the heaven, the earth. What we're going to do now is interpret that phrase metaphysically. So, if I pulled out just the nouns, I have the word God, heaven, and earth. Okay. And I'm going to put that in a column on the left-hand side. I'm going to run a left-hand column, and I'm just going to pull my nouns out. In the right-hand column, I'm going to look up in the Bible, Metaphysical Bible Dictionary or online, the interpretation, what Charles says God is. And he said it's omnipresent, principle, absolute truth, the energy in all things in the universe. Of heaven, he said, Christ consciousness, the realm of divine ideas. So for Charles, heaven wasn't a place. And in unity, we don't say heaven's a place. We say it's a realm of divine ideas. It's the, if God is divine, capital D, divine mind, then this is the realm of divine ideas. Earth, he defined as the manifestation of those ideas. So you have the divine mind of ideas, or the realm of ideas happening, that we manifest here on earth, the manifestation of those ideas. Now, again, all I'm doing is, I don't have to make sense of this right now, because all I'm doing is basically charting it. I'm saying God, heaven, and earth in this phrase. These are the definitions. Then what I do is I take that now and I read the sentences, if you will: omnipresent, principle, absolute truth, Christ consciousness, the realm of divine ideas, the manifestation of divine ideas. In the beginning, God, omnipresent, absolute truth, created this realm of ideas, or in this realm of ideas was creation, and it manifested into earth, or we have a manifestation of those ideas. Again, you're just reading through these sentences now. And this is where it becomes personal to you, where you take this into, as Charles did, your own consciousness, your own prayer, and you say, what do I really think that they're trying to say there? Let go of the facts, or that literal heaven, earth, black and white. Let go of that, sit with it. And then what do you think he's really saying? And for me, I said, God, now I'm going to put it in sentences, those ideas. God, the energy in all things, is in us. And through our Christ consciousness, our divinity, our divine ideas are manifested.
Mhm.
Okay. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. God is in all of us. And from the very beginning, if you want to say from the very beginning, God was in all of us. And through our Christ consciousness, we can manifest our divine ideas. It's another way you could say it. Or we can manifest our ideas. Okay, you with me?
Mhm.
Okay, thoughts, comments. Make sense, doesn't make sense? Never thought of it that way.
So how do you get to Christ consciousness?
So if you look at the actual definitions, Christ consciousness is to Charles, like he considers our Christ consciousness what's our divinity inside of us, because in unity we talk about the Christ within us, right, as heaven. Charles didn't think of heaven as a separate place above us. He thought of heaven as within us. Okay. And I don't know the exact passage Jesus even alludes to this. Maybe Don remembers, but so Christ consciousness within us is heaven. There's no separate physical place where we're going to go one day to heaven. Okay, we have heaven here on earth. It's already here. It's in our consciousness. So for me, God which I believe in is the energy in all things. Okay. And through my divinity, through my Christ consciousness, I have an idea, I can manifest it. We talk about manifesting abundance. We affirm that we have abundance in our life. That's what we're doing. We're manifesting, we have our divine ideas, and then it manifests in our life. And Unity's shown that over and over again. Dawn, you want to add anything here?
Yeah, well, like you said before, you're going to get a personal interpretation of it, because that's what the Bible is. It's the story of our own personal souls unfolding. So when I look at it, I like what you came up with metaphysically, but for me, metaphysically, what makes sense, and this is saying to me, is that looking at it literally, God created two places, heaven and earth. But to me, when I look at it metaphysically with these definitions, God created a system, not locations. So for me, it's divine truth, absolute principle created this system of the realm of divine ideas, and then a way for that to be manifested into the world.
Mm-hmm.
That God created the realm of divine ideas, and then the way for those divine ideas to be manifested in the world, and they come into creation, and that's how the world is created.
Mm-hmm.
That divine mind gives us all of these divine ideas, and then earth is the manifestation of those divine ideas. As those divine ideas come into actual physical being, it's the creation of the world, of the
Mm-hmm.
earth, our physical realm. So for me, it's God creates the system first, and then the rest unfolds out of this system.
Mm-hmm. And while you were talking, it came to me, Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within.
Mhm.
So kingdom of God, the heaven, is within and not out here.
But later on in the verses, when God creates man, he blows him a breath. So would that also be part of what you're saying that Jesus said? Because I mean, in Genesis, he mentions God created man and gave and breathed into him or something like that. I don't remember. I don't. So would that be part of the divine that is in us?
Sure.
God's, I mean,
yes.
So I don't know.
No, keep going. You know, you're thinking and yes, it's in there. It's in there, yeah, I will go back and I'll look at that for next week, because I don't go through the entire creation story. There's really 7 steps. But for me, I think you just said, okay, so God breathed into man. I don't know the exact verbiage of it.
I don't either.
And God created man. Okay, if he breathed into man, then God's consciousness, or God and us, are one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we go. We are the oneness. I see the divinity in you, the oneness in you. You see it in me. I see the Christ in you. You see it in me. The acknowledgement that there is divine presence in both of us. If I was looking at you or everybody in this room, yeah, because that breath is in us.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
No. Actually, it would be interesting if you want to look at that and bring it to us in 2 weeks, what you get out of it. Because you can go on the website and look those words up. So if you take that sentence and see what, if you're willing and able, and
no, I will.
I would love to hear it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second because I want to see your faces. Anybody else have a thought about that? About the phrase? Or about anything we've talked about so far? What's happening in you? What's happening in the wheels here?
Well, I just keep thinking about how that God created heavens and earth. I mean, the earth is the part of that that's pretty specific. When you showed us that picture of the cosmos, and you can you can read into it what the cosmos is and the energy of all that. But the earth is this little place. So I'm just looking at that sentence going, it's not really a opposition, because the earth is part of the heavens from a different perspective. I don't know. I keep seeing that picture you showed us. That's all I have to say.
I had someone tell me one time when I was younger, I was worrying about something, and they said, listen, if you want to worry about something, worry about the fact that you're on a planet floating in the middle of nowhere, spinning.
That's
I'm
good.
like, okay.
Uh,
So yes, the physical earth, the physical body, you could take that to a couple different levels. The animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, yeah, we are in this massive universe that also has physicality. We've landed on the moon. There's a physical there. So
the sentence sort of sets it up as if heavens and earth are opposing each other. One's one thing and one's the other. But I wonder if that's what was really meant by it, I guess, because it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't, it's how we form things in our mind, the words are always that, they're always representations of meaning. So it can get complicated trying to dig it out.
I love it. You're on the right track. You're already thinking beyond, because if you think when the Bible was written at that time, to them, there was up and here. They didn't go to the moon at that point. Like there is stars and what we have right here. But we all know there's more, There were people around that knew there was more, but was it
Whenever I
so?
look at this too, I think, like Rumi has that quote about there's a field beyond the right and wrong, I'll meet you there. I mean, he lived 12,000 years before Christ. So he was channeling that from somewhere. That certainly is a metaphor for, that's a metaphor, right? That's metaphysics.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes. I have a general question. So when Charles Fillmore defines earth the way you showed us just now, does that carry through for the word earth everywhere else in the scriptures, or it depends on the context?
I think it depends on the context. I'm thinking there's a passage where he talks about the birds of the sky, the fish of the sea, the earth and that's a pretty literal passage. Although if you took the passage and tried to create, and not try to, but looked at a different meaning you could come up with a different meaning. So you'd have to look at each passage and then say, okay, is that what he's trying to say? And that's where it speaks to you. That's where spirit speaks to you and say, you know what, it doesn't work here, but I get this out of it.
Okay.
Pamela.
This is a perfect example of how there's so many ways to look at things. And it just reaffirms the fact that the literal reading of the Bible is so very limiting.
Right. Yeah.
That just in 10 minutes here.
Yes. We're done. We'll see you later. Exactly.
You didn't say to bring the Tylenol because my head is getting a little bit.
Well,
Mine too.
I can feel it. I'm connected to you guys. I feel it. That's why I'm like, oh, we could go 2 hours. And I'm thinking, no, I think we're coming right to the perfect time frame of 15 minutes. Because I know you're going to take this and you're just going to let it sink in and you're just going to pray about it and think about it. So let me blow your mind one more time. Okay.
Oh.
I'll give you 2 things to think about. Because I want to just take the next one head on. John 3:16. Because it is very, it's part of our culture, and you see it at sporting events, you see it, many, many places. And so, I think it's, let's just look at, because I have met people in my life that have tried to use it against me somehow. Like, we're going to use this passage against other people. Those would be your, and there again, it's where they are right now. So I'm not saying it's good, wrong, but right, but those are your exclusive group. And so I hope by seeing this, looking at this and taking this class as well, when you meet other people and you bring up Bible, or Bible comes up and they start talking a certain way, hopefully you'll be able to see, oh, they're coming at it from this perspective, they're coming at it from this perspective. And that's freeing too, because I don't have to change their minds. We don't have to change their minds. And it's, you know what, if that's the way you feel, great. I'm not going to get an argument about it. Love you. We'll just, move on. So in any case, I hope you see that as well. I think you do, because you guys rocked that first sentence. All we did was one sentence in the entire book. All right. So this again is my interpretation. You might take it home tonight or think about it over the next 2 weeks. So we all know the John 3:16, as it states in the Bible, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Okay. So I'm going to take the nouns. And again, you'll get nouns, and then you might get one word in there that goes, that I just want to see what Charles said about this. I just want to see what the metaphysical interpretation is. So if I look at this sentence and I say, okay, God, world, son, and I'm going to put in parentheses Jesus, because that's what he's talking about there, that we believe, or I believed, eternal, and life. Okay, now I could, and you could pick out other words. You might decide, oh, what does perish? What's him with a capital H? I'll tell you that you may pick words out and there is no metaphysical interpretation of it. When that happens to me, if it's a longer passage, I just don't use that word. I'll just throw it out. Trust spirit. You're trusting spirit, and you're trusting your own relationship with God to give you the meaning out of it. Okay. Again, it's no right or wrong. All right. So we already know God means omnipresent, divine mind. We looked that up earlier. Is there a metaphysical definition of world? Well, yes, he says it's our state of consciousness, our standard of living, external. Yeah, and he has an internal one too, but external, our world, like you saying, the physical earth, our world, or world can be used in another way. It can be my world. This is how I live my world, or you've heard people say that, or my standard of living is what they're trying to talk about. In my world, you probably heard that. That doesn't exist in my world, Son, the I am. So Charles says that Jesus is the I am. The Son is the I am. When Moses was at the burning bush and he asked God what his name was, he said, I am, the expression of divine mind. Okay. Eternal, without a beginning or ending. So there's no, the Alpha and the Omega, the infinity, there's no beginning or ending. And life. So that's the energy that propels us. All forms up to action, animation, vigor, activity. So what does that mean? Well, obviously we're alive, life. The dog has a life, the cat has a life. It's forms of action, animation. And then we live our life, which is an activity. So that's what I would, again, writing down the nouns, then write the actual definitions. You're not interpreting right now. You're just writing the definitions. And then you're sitting with it. Now, for me, what I do is I just start reading the definitions, like all one sentence. Omnipresent divine mind, a standard of living or a state of consciousness, the I am, without a beginning or ending, all energy. And you have to think, what is happening or what are we talking about in the story, right? So, and then you write down what that means. So, God so loved us as humanity. God so loved the world. God so loved humanity or humankind that he gave his only son. We are the expression of the I am. We're sons and daughters too. So we are expressions of the I am spiritually. Without a beginning or ending, we do not perish. So let me just say this too, because what happens is I don't remember when I wrote that. That could have been last year, the year before. But when I say that the Bible is living, that for me, what that means is when I read it today, I might have another interpretation. Okay. It changes because I've changed since last year. I've grown. I mean, I became ordained since last year. So, you know, I must have grew in there somewhere, right? So I've grown. So for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, some people would think of that as black and white. This is his son, physical form. And if you don't believe in this one man, then you will not have eternal life. Again, we look at, here we have an afterlife oriented sentence. In order to go on, you have to do this, right? So God so loved humanity that we're expression of, we all say Jesus was an expression of God, the I am. If you believe in what Jesus was teaching at the time, right? What he was trying to say, the kingdom of God is in you, inclusive messages, bring the children, I'm going to talk to the Samaritan, right? If you believe in the principles that he was teaching, then you come to the realization that you also have eternal life. Right? We are also eternal. Okay, everybody take a deep breath and blow that out. Take another deep breath and blow that out. And just relax. Because in complete honesty, being raised Baptist, this brings up some emotions for me that I thought were gone. But sitting here tonight, and not a negative thing, there's still a small part of me that hangs on to that teaching, not to exclude people, but from the realm of, I know unity, I hold no ill will against anybody, I believe Christ consciousness and stuff. And this still pulls a little tug at me. Not that I've ever used it against anybody else, but because I've seen it used against people. And so it brings up a little bit of an emotion that's like, why can't they understand? Oh, if they could free their mind. So, but no. So that's okay. That's okay. Okay, just sit with it for a minute. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Let's Karen in. Thoughts on that one? What are you feeling right now? I won't say one word. We got about 4 minutes. So you get 2 words out of it. How are we feeling right now?
Can I say something?
Mhm.
Coming from a Pentecostal background, where it says, for God loved the world, or God so loved the world, that was a very contradictory to me
Mhm.
because of what I was taught while, in the Pentecostal church. And I said, well, wait a second. If God says that he loves the world, then why can't you show love towards this person and that person and accept them? Because if you're preaching that don't you think it's a little bit contradictory?
Mhm.
Kind of. I mean, we all are part of this. Aren't we the world? And I'm like, and it got me into a lot of trouble because I pointed that out because they had no answer. And I guess they felt threatened, and I didn't mean to do that.
Mhm.
I had to apologize, but it's still like that really bothered me a
Mhm.
lot, because I
Mhm.
was like, well, if you're saying this and you're doing another thing and then you're just picking and choosing. And that's why that first part of that sentence made me realize, certain things. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So it still brings up a little bit of something in you, but yay you.
No, not
Because
really.
if I don't know at what stage in your life that was happening, but I don't know if everybody else to me, that's spirit working in you, because I find most people in unity come because if they come from an organized religion background, it's not working for them anymore. And why is it not working? Because you're starting to pull back and see the sun.
Mm.
You're starting to pull back and go, wait a minute, this doesn't work anymore. I don't throw everything out, but I know that does not mean the same thing to me as it did the way I was taught.
Mhm.
So now what does it mean? And that's how you get to the metaphysics part. That's what you're doing. You're just thinking about it beyond what you see on paper. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Joanna asked the same question growing up in Dartford.
Anybody else? Okay. I'm gonna go back to the slide for just a second because I think we have a wrap up. So let that one sit with you, and then over the next, when we get together next, I'd like to hear, did it move anything in you? Did it shift, or even just how you're feeling overall in the class? So basically, so far we've learned an easy technique to interpret the Bible. So that's something that you can use in your everyday life, right? So a lot of times when if I have something going on in my life, I will let me just go interpreting the Bible metaphysically, because I want to get back to seeing your faces. It's just a way for you to grow in your spiritual practice. Okay, to do this metaphysically. It's just another way for you to grow individually in your spiritual practice. Okay. All right. Let me go back to where I can see you guys.
Yeah.
So what I do is, like, if I have something going on in my life, I'll share a short story, and then we'll wrap up. I might go to here it is, my Bible, and I may just go like this. Okay, listen, God, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm just going to let this fall open, and I'm going to read, and I'm going to find something that catches my eye. And I went, oh, okay, that doesn't quite apply. Let me try that again. No. And then I don't want to hear that message. Oh, okay, I got, and I'll read something. So one time I was in class and the teacher said, I'm gonna, next week when you come to this class, we're gonna lay hands on people. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 I'm out. This is at a Unity church. We're gonna come in, we're gonna lay hands on the person in front of us. And I'm like, no, not doing it. I was resistant. So I went out to my car during a break and I grabbed my Bible. I'm like, okay, I'm resistant to this one, right? I'm resistant. What am I going to do? I let the Bible fall open. And I was drawn to the passage that says, you shall lay hands on people. And I went, God bless it. This is long before I got into ministerial school, obviously, but it was on my path to ministerial school. And I went, okay. So I went in and the lady sat in front of me and I put my hands on her shoulders and we were in pews. So I just had to put my hand on her shoulders. And then she brought us into a meditation. And in the meditation, I saw this feet walking on a path on the bottom of a garment. And I heard road to Damascus. And I know that, that's in my wheelhouse. So I'm like, road to Damascus. Okay. So I go and read the section about road to Damascus, and it says, the scales will fall from their eyes and they will see. And I'm like, and they shall go out into the world and preach. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Like, I got to go be a preacher now? But just by opening, and would it mean the same today if I looked at it? Maybe, maybe not. Obviously, it meant something differently back then. It actually started me on the road towards ministerial school. One of the things that started me on the road to ministerial school. So, have fun with it. I mean, most people would say, have fun with the Bible. What are you talking about? I'm going to have fun with the Bible. Have fun with it. It's when we think that it's going to somehow hurt us in some way because of what we've been taught. It's not. It's just a book. It's a story. And we're going to take a story and just see what it says. Take one phrase and see what it says. Okay. This is the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which looks different. So see how thick it is? I'm sure they have it in the bookstore at CCU. If they don't, I'm sure they can get it for you. But again, it's also online. So just depending on what format. I personally like to have the book because I underline things and stuff like that. So yeah. All right. Closing comments or thoughts right